Man, I'm gonna miss this show, guys. GEATS as a show started out pretty modestly, but it has grown into something completely off the charts that I could have never expected. And it's been one hell of a ride. Fight! But now that GEATS is wrapping up, it's a perfect time for us to look back at the things that made GEATS great. So let's talk about one of my favorites. These are the things that made GEATS one of the best Kamen Rider seasons of all time. So first up at number 10, let's talk about the story. It's really unique from other Rider seasons in that it's a battle royale. A battle royale with Kamen Riders. So basically, riders wish for their ideal worlds, and then they fight each other, winner take all. When the show started out, I thought that it was going to be kinda simple and intimate, but the thing about GEATS' story is that just when you think you have it figured out, it's going to flip on its head and throw you a curveball. And I just think the writers did a really good job over the course of the season of mixing up the format and making us question what we thought about certain characters. And when your assumptions about a character get challenged, that's good writing. The stakes of this universe are very high, and it makes events that happen week to week feel very impactful to the overall narrative. Next up, let's talk about the Jamatos. Now, these guys are plant creatures that are grown on vines. Originally created by Archimedo, the creator fed them his own hand so they would grow. And yeah, they serve a similar function to the enemy foot soldiers in other Kamen Rider seasons, being that they're mostly just there to be fodder for the Kamen Riders to destroy. But overall, they're very entertaining as a foot soldier troop. And there are different variations of them that we see throughout the show that keeps them kind of fresh and interesting. And eventually they would get their own Grand Prix. But you know, on some of these seasons the foot soldiers are really forgettable. But I think the Jamatos might be one of the most memorable groups of soldiers of all time. Ready. Fight! Now, what a story arc for Sekirai Keiwa, also known as Kamen Rider Tycoon. When the show starts out, he pretty much acts like a Boy Scout, a good guy's good guy. He just wants to drink his milk and protect people. But he experiences a lot of grief and heartbreak on the show, and eventually he would gain the power of Bujin's sword, one of the best looking Kamen Rider forms of all time in my opinion. First of all, I'm a sucker for samurai stuff. And he's basically a samurai, albeit with a raccoon helmet. Plus, he has an awesome katana that he once used to impale Buffa on the concrete. The contrast that you see in him throughout his story arc is incredible. He goes from a Boy Scout to a revenge-consumed shogun. And yeah, you better believe that I'm gonna get his SH Figure Arts figure too. Next up, let's talk about the tournament format. So I know that Battle Royale games in general are pretty popular. Maybe not as popular as they were 3 or 4 years ago, but they're still pretty popular. So Kamen Rider had to get in on that. Someone at Toei said, Battle Royales are cool, but what if we had one with Kamen Riders? Effing genius. It works so well as a Kamen Rider series, because Kamen Riders fight anyway, that's what they do. But now when you put it inside of a tournament format, the stakes are raised so much higher. It's not just the riders competing for some money, no. The winner gets their ideal world, and basically what that means is that if they have the ability to wish for it, then they can have it. So the stakes are very high, and the different riders in the show have their own motivations for wanting to win that power. Throughout the series, there are multiple tournaments with different rules and stories surrounding them. But in general, I think the tournament style keeps the show concise, and it feels like there's something real at stake every week. Next up, let's talk about all the different riders, because there are quite a few. So obviously we have the main ones, but there's some one-off riders and some riders that aren't around for very long that I really like here. A tournament needs participants, and I guess Toei knew that if they had the exact same crop of 5 riders fighting every episode, it would start to get boring after a little bit. We got some really cool ones here like Punk Jack, Dapan, and someone with one of the weirdest Kamen Rider names of all time, Kamen Rider Mary, among others. The different ID cores and helmet designs of these riders are all very cool and unique as well. Next up, the amazing, catchy intro. This song is an absolute banger, and I watched so much Kamen Rider GEATS that it's pretty much permanently stuck in my head. The song is performed by Kumi Koda and Shonan no Kaze, and within a franchise that already has many memorable, catchy theme songs, the theme song for Kamen Rider GEATS, I think, will go down as one of the greatest. And in addition to the amazing music here, the editing visually is also dynamic, exciting, and very, very well done. So whoever did the editing of this intro, props to you. Next up is Beroba. She's the bratty, brash, immature girl from the future who is Buffa's supporter. She actually has multiple rider forms on this show. Her first form is a large mecha-like form that looks similar to Breaking Mammoth from Kamen Rider 01. But eventually she would gain the ability to henshin into Glare 2, which is probably her most Kamen Rider-y looking Kamen Rider form, before eventually becoming Premium Beroba, which appears more like a monster form, but it looks cool nonetheless. She eats candy, she laughs at people suffering. She's Beroba. Number 3 is Buffa, the Bull, Michi. If I was to describe his personality, it would be that of a bull. His rider form fits his personality so well because he is stubborn and bullheaded, as they would say. He's out to cause destruction, whether it's the destruction of the DGP or the destruction of other riders. He's gonna give you the horns. He fills the role of the anti-hero perfectly within this show. And no matter what the situation is, whether he is on GEATS' side or not, you always have the feeling that he's gonna do what he wants to do, and little will dissuade him from that. Next up, let's talk about my girl Nago. You know, when we first tuned in to watch Kamen Rider GEATS, they really portrayed her as kind of a vain celebrity type. You know, she's a social media influencer. She does her little dances on the internet, and she has millions of followers. But as we know, she's not happy. Her home life makes her miserable, and she just wants to get away, which is her motivation for wanting to enter the Desire Grand Prix. She becomes Kamen Rider Nago. Visually, when she uses the Beats raise buckle, her suit just looks incredible. But after a while, we start to understand more about her life, until she's ultimately faced with a true existential crisis, where she doesn't even know if she's real anymore. But as dark as things got for her, she's a fighter and she learned to overcome these things. Nago doesn't give up. But you know, nothing else on this list would even matter if it wasn't for GEATS himself. I mean, it is Kamen Rider GEATS after all. And you know, Ace is just one stylish dude. He's lived through multiple lifetimes, and he's constantly 3 steps ahead of everybody. He is the kitsune, he is the fox, and he is sly like a fox. When he walks down the street, people scream for him and call his name. He's just cool like that. And he knows that he's popular. He knows that he's cool. And sometimes he can even border on cockiness. But ultimately, he has great empathy for the other people around him, like Nago and Tycoon and even Michi. He basically becomes a god due to his sheer power and the ability to bend the universe to his will. And time will tell, but I think if we're looking back on GEATS in 10 years, I think it will still be relevant and still be heavily discussed within the Kamen Rider fandom. And to me, when you can inspire conversation and theory crafting and fan art and things like that for years into the future, that's the mark of a classic Kamen Rider season. And that is what will live on forever. Of course, let me know what you thought of GEATS in the comments, as well as your favorite memory of the show. And if you enjoyed this video, it would mean a ton to me if you would smack the shit out of that like button. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you next time. Bye.